and welcome to Off the Ruck, your weekly rugby breakdown with me, John Ferguson. The first test of the Greatest Rivalry Tour is almost upon us. The teams are about to be announced. They have not been announced yet when I am recording this, but that won't really matter because it is the coaching setups, it is the squads as wholes, it is the teams that will be on the field, the two teams of 23 that will matter as a unit. The individual players, yes, are very important and we will get to them, but what will matter ultimately is who will be able to execute their plan the best. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm a journalist from Australia, but I do rugby content about the whole entire world with teams and pundits from all over the world. And we will be hearing from Jamie Wall and Riaan Louw from the Republic in just a little while. So just let me give you this little intro, then we will get to hear their thoughts. They're both over there. They're both over in South Africa. They have their individual thoughts on the individual camps. We've got Jamie Wall taking care of the All Blacks side of things, and we've got Riaan Louw taking care of the Springboks side of things. So you will be able to get takes from in country, on the ground, where the Greatest Rivalry Tour is going to be taking place. So we will bring you that in just a moment. Both interviews recorded, most likely, definitely Jamie's, but maybe Riaan's as well before the squads are announced. So this is all just about how the teams are preparing, how they're going, and what we can expect on game day on Saturday night. Just a quick intermission here. I just want to say that some of this episode has been recorded well in advance. Others have kind of been running commentary along the day in the lead up to the sides to being announced. So please stick with me. You will get all the analysis, all the angles, all the guests if you just hang in there. I know that it seems like a little bit of chopping and changing, but I think you guys are smart enough to work out in what order it is recorded. So please enjoy. And here's back to the video. Ellis Park, the absolutely famous ground where the Wallabies got a victory last year at altitude 1,753 meters above sea level in Johannesburg, will be the cauldron, will be the battleground for the first test. And I personally cannot wait. It's going to be absolutely amazing. For those of you who have been hanging around for quite a while here on the channel, I hope you're liking a little bit what I'm doing here with the lighting. I'm hoping to do a couple of more of these moody, light, pleasant recordings for the eye, and we were getting some stuff in the background as well. If you're new to the channel, let me know what you think, trying something new. So we'll see how we go. But now to the rugby at hand. It really has been written a lot about the clash of two styles. One, this aggressive line rush defense of the Springboks, their set piece to set piece, their power game. That is exactly what I think they're going to bring. Rassie Erasmus and a couple of the other coaches or players, ex-players, have wanted to dispel that this is the only way that the Springboks play. But the fact is that this is what has won them 2 World Cups, and they are so damn good at it. The depth that they have, the skill set that they have, the plays that they select, it all just points in one direction. And honestly, it's actually quite amazing how good they are at this style and how no one yet has been able to rival them on the world stage. The All Blacks under Dave Rennie have been absolutely running themselves into the ground, but not before they have been running their opposition off their feet. They are completing way more passes than previous All Black sides and way more passes than their oppositions each and every week. They are setting more rucks and they are definitely carrying more as a team. You've got backs making as many carriers forwards. That's to share the giant load that is being put on the players. And I think some people are concerned whether they will run out of steam. But I think that with the squad, the personnel, the team members, and also the wider squad are capable of keeping this going for the intensive 4-test marathon that the Greatest Rivalry is. So it is truly a clash of styles. Now, which one will prevail? We'll have to wait and see, but I think it will come down, as basic as it sounds, to who can execute their style the best and not be thrown off by the opposition. What I will talk about now is who are the 3 most influential, or perhaps most important players for the respective sides, for the Springboks and for the All Blacks in this tour. For the Springboks, I actually think that it's Jesse Kriel. Jesse Creel is such an irreplaceable member of the Springboks backline. And while we know rather that the Springboks have so many talented wingers, they have Andre Esterhuizen and Damien Diolande both at inside center. They have got fly halves who can absolutely play a wide range of games, and they've got talented halfbacks like Grant Williams and Cobus Reinach, not to mention a few behind them as well who will be able to execute the game plan with great core skill sets. Jesse Creel is truly a unique athlete amongst these people. And I think also his partnership with Damien Diolande is the most capped partnership, center partnership in South African history, and they've surpassed John de Villiers and Jacques Fourie, which was an absolutely amazing center combination. But nonetheless, Jesse Creel and Damien Diolande have done it more times now together in the 12 and 13 jersey. But Jesse Creel, he is such an integral part of the umbrella defense, which we will talk about in detail with some analysis, with some video analysis just coming up in just a moment. And he is the one that's going to be leading that. And I think that if you put a Kanan Moody in there, I think put an Ethan Hooker in there, if you perhaps have to shift someone else out into that position, it's not beyond them. But they're not going to be Jesse Creel's standard. And he is such an immense player, but he's also a big moment player, and he's such an athletically gifted individual that he can just cover about any space. So really, really important that Jesse Creel stays fit throughout this tour and that he stays on the park, because he will be vital for the Springboks. The most influential player for the All Blacks, on the other hand, is Cam Roigard at number 9. Now, many people will see that the way that the game is being played at the moment is that the Nines are having more game driving, more influential plays over this side, and the tempo, the momentum, the territory than the fly halves at the moment. And Cam Roigard is in a league of his own when compared with his companions, Carl Preston and Cortez Ratama. It's not that they're bad halfbacks. In fact, they're actually quite good halfbacks. But Cam Roigard is up there, that he's nearing the top 3 halfbacks in the world. Many people will say that he is the best halfback in the world. Many will say that he's second best in the world. But I think that Jameson Gibson Park and Antoine Dupont still have the feats, the experience, and the consistency at test level over Cam Roigard at this point. But nonetheless, his ability to be able to dictate tempo, his ability to be able to get his forwards on the front foot, and his ability to be able to nail his core skill set, his kick and pass, will be vital for the All Blacks to be able to execute their fast ruck, their aggressive ruck, and their lots of pass game plan. It all starts from the base, and that starts with Cam Roigard, not to mention his ability to run and to be able to find holes when he's sniping. Hugely, hugely important. The second most important player for the Springboks, in my opinion, is Malcolm Marx. Now, while lots of people will probably be surprised that I'm not saying either tight head or loose head props like Oxen Che, but it's actually the fact that they are so deep in loose head and tight head prop with players that would probably walk into most international sides 23, if not starting 15 at hooker. And I know that, Malcolm Marx is just one of many hookers that they have in this group, and not to mention someone like Dion Fourie, who caused the All Blacks a bunch of trouble in that Stormers game, which was the first game of the Greatest Rivalry Tour games. It is nonetheless the fact that Marx is just in a league of his own when it comes to being an individual, a player, but also a hooker. His skill set, his ability to be such a big man mountain, such a huge man, but also get so low and get immovable when he's pilfering over the ball. His shunt in the scrum, his skill set at the line out, not to mention what he adds in defense. Malcolm Marx is is undisputably the best hooker in that group, and he is not easily replaced. And so that's why I think that should Marx not be part of that squad at some point or other, there is going to be a little bit of worry for the Springboks' ability to be able to nail their plan without such an influential member of their team. The second most influential player that I believe for the All Blacks is, we've already said Cam Roigard, and now we're actually going to go to Jordie Barrett, inside center. I know that we started with an outside center for Springboks, but Cam Roigard is more influential for the All Blacks than Jordie Barrett, but Jordie Barrett is close second. The reason why is because you need a foil. No matter who's going to be the 10, you need a foil inside and you need a foil outside. And by foil, I mean you need someone to support. And there is going to be no better than the absolute world-class triple threat of Jordie Barrett. Jordie Barrett can kick, pass, run, and not to mention he's such a big inside center. He's such a tall inside center, and his diverse skill set means that no one's going to be going through him. And should Ruben Love start at 10, or should it be Richie Mwonga at some point, or D-Mac, or Geordie Barrett, they are going to be able to offload with Geordie Barrett, and there will be no worries, no questions asked. Geordie Barrett will be the eyes and ears of whoever's playing at number 10, and that will be such a hugely crucial role, because we know that even when he played against Ireland in July, he kicked a 50-22, and it made it look like nothing. Geordie Barrett is someone who will be the absolute fulcrum of the way that the All Blacks are going to dictate tempo once the ball is off the base of the ruck and in the back line. He is often such a crucial pivot point, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Springboks target him, but he is a skillful player enough to be able to deal with that pressure and to be able to continue going on about his business and forward the All Blacks plan. Geordie Barrett is the second most influential player, in my opinion, in the All Blacks, and should they lose him, they don't really have a like-for-like replacement. Anton Leonard-Brown doesn't have his skill set. Quinn Tupaia certainly doesn't have his experience or skill set. Timothy Tavatavanawa, no. So Geordie Barrett is unique in the way that he is in that All Black setup, and it's not surprising that he's such an amazing player and just came back from a really telling stint with Leinster last season. Oh, sorry, the season before that, prior. Sorry, Rieko Ioane this season, in the 2025-2026 season. The third most influential player for the Springboks, and this may or may not surprise you, but it's Cobus Reinach, the halfback. Now, while many people will say that Cobus Reinach and Grant Williams are two sides of one coin, very, very similar in skill set and ability, I still think that Cobus Reinach's core skill set is a little bit better, and it feels like he's able to dictate tempo, particularly off the base. And it's very telling that after that Argentina game, he was a big conversation point about his ability to just absolutely slow the tempo down and control it to the way that the Springboks wanted to play. Cobus Reinach, for me, is the third most influential player in the Springboks side. And while he may not be absolutely irreplaceable in the fact that Grant Williams, is such a great halfback as well, I nonetheless think that Cobus Reinach pips him just for his ability to influence games with his ability to dictate tempo and set speed there off the ruck, and particularly his box kick. Very, very good. The third most influential player for the All Blacks, in my opinion, is Fletcher Newell, the tight head prop. Now, while many will say in New Zealand that Tyrell Lomax is the best tight head prop scrummager in the All Blacks arsenal, I do believe that because he's only just coming back a few games, I think he's played 4 games now since his return from injury, didn't have a whole lot of game. I think he played one or two, a few games for the Hurricanes in the season, but not many. And it just takes a while. We know here in Australia, Alan Alatoa, when he goes away for injury and he comes back, it takes him a couple of months to get truly back to his world-class standard. And I think that that's what Tyrell Lomax is going through now. He's only scrummaged against the French and the Irish in the Nations Championship, I believe, and he also has scrummaged against now the club sides in South Africa. But I don't think that that truly is the sternest test that will prepare him adequately for what's about to come from a Springbok scrum. So I think that Fletcher Newell, who is fully fit and who has been absolutely going great guns and is a great scrummager in his own right, extremely strong. We've seen his gym feats on the Crusaders Instagram page as well as the New Zealand Instagram page. We just need to be very aware that Fletcher Newell will be that stopgap. He will be the one that is turned to in the second half, or whether it is, when the squad comes out, whether it is to start, he is going to be the one with the weight and also the weight of the Springboks pack on his shoulders. So Fletcher Newell, vital, particularly with Priscillo Tossi not quite performing, not quite up to scratch in that first Stormers game on tour. And I don't particularly see, although he did extremely well during Super Rugby Pacific, I don't see him as a scrummager on the same level as Tyrell Lomax and Fletcher Newell. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Special mention to Damon Willemse. Really special mention Damien Villas at fullback. I think that Afalele Fase is not in the same tier of experience, definitely not experience or class, as Damien Willemse, and his all-round skill set, his ability to play 10, his ability to play 12, his ability to play 13, 11, 14, 15, but most certainly his ability to play 15 at such a high level. He's irreplaceable. He's going to be the commander at the back. We know what he did in that 2023 World Cup when he called for that scrum. He's a big time player. He's a big occasions player. And that's someone that you want absolutely going great guns when your back's to the wall. If you're getting gassed, which I think that they will be at parts during this game against the All Blacks. So Damien Villains, special shout out there. So now we will go into analysis mode. We will go into video analysis mode, and we're going to talk about the Springboks rush defense first. Then we're going to talk about the All Blacks backfield coverage off kicks, because I do foresee the Springboks to kick a lot. And I'm sure the All Blacks are prepared for it. It's one thing to be prepared. It's one thing to have a plan. That all goes out the window when you get punched in the mouth. So we're going to go through both these things. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Give a thumbs up if you feel like you've learned something, and you feel like there's something interesting that we've discussed. And you know what? Let this be the start of the discussion, please. Please get down there, chat to me. I want to reply to you guys. I want to hear what your thoughts are. Please discuss in the comment section below. I'll join you. No questions asked. Let's go. So now for the analysis piece, have a look at this diagram. This is it's a bit of an exaggerated model of what a backline setup is going to look like. So just imagine the ball is on that left-hand side here, where those two closest players with the green and the black jerseys are. And then you've got the 12s lined up, the 13s lined up, and then you've got the 14s lined up, sort of. What's going to be really important to note here is that for a rush defense to work, you need it to go from the outside in. You want to be able to umbrella yourself in and cause pressure from the outside in. So you start on the outside. You don't start on the inside, you start on the outside shoulder of who you are defending. So that's why they are a little bit askew here, and that's why it looks like this. The next image we're going to look at is the lines that they're going to be running. And the reason why the Springbok that's furthest out, so the winger, why they started a little bit back and now have moved forward and to be able to run this arcing line is because they want to cut off the ball at source. They don't want the ball to get out to the wing. And if it is going to go out to the wing, they're going to say, we're going to test your skill set. We're going to test your long arcing pass. We're going to test your crossfield kick. And we're going to back that we have fast enough wingers to be able to get out there and outside centers to be able to cover that space. So that is what we are going to call the fool's gold space. That All Blacks winger, which doesn't have a green jersey, that black jersey, it doesn't have a green jersey lined up on it. That guy looks like he's in space. But due to the pressure, due to the rush, due to the acceleration and the skill set of the Springboks players, that is fool's gold. In any rush defensive shape, that right there, where that winger is fool's gold space. So if we click onto the next image, we'll have a look at what's going to try to happen. That ball is going to be trying to be transferred into the space. And we know the All Blacks like to pass, and there is no doubt that they're going to find their way out there. Whether it's kick, whether it's a cutout pass, whether it's several little passes in quick succession, they're going to try to get the ball out there one way or another because there is space. It just closes down very quickly. So if we go to the next diagram, as it just shows there, that's where the ball will start, and that's how the ball will try to get there. The black lines represent ball movement. The yellow lines, they show player movement. So we can see the player movement, we can see the ball movement. And now, this is what happens, and this is the really important part. The most, and I kind of touched on this a couple of videos ago, but the most vulnerable part of a rush defense is when you get to that outside channel and you have to be able to stay connected when you are in an all-out sprint. As you can see, the two furthest out wingers closest to the ball, the two furthest out Springboks players closest to the ball are going towards that All Blacks player with the ball. That All Blacks player is going straight down that line and seeing if he's fast enough to be able to gas the Springboks players. That is unlikely to be the case because otherwise they wouldn't run this type of defense. Jesse Creel, who's that 13 jersey, who's the further back, as in the one that's closer, the bigger jersey to the All Blacks jersey, the one that's slightly ahead of him, he's likely going to be there. He's no slouch. He will likely catch that guy in the dog leg. And that's what it's called. That dog leg, that L shape, that's what a dog leg is called. And he's going to catch whoever that winger is, whether it's a Will Jordan, whether it's Josh Morby, whoever it is, he's going to catch that player. So what I want you to pay attention to now is that where the All Blacks players are going to run, so their red lines are going to dictate or going to show what their running lines are going to be. The yellow lines dictate the way that the Springboks players are moving, and the black lines are dictating where the ball movement should go. So, what the biggest issue here is that you can't have eyes in the back of your head for the Springboks players. You're relying on communications. And for communication to be absolutely stellar, you need to be able to hear it, you need to be able to understand it, and you need to trust it. So if Jesse Creel hears a call from Damien Diolande or Andre Esterhazen or whoever is on his inside that says, you can go, you can go, you can go, he will just absolutely go full bore along with the winger, Edville Mandemerva, or a Cheslin Colby, or a Kurtley Narrenza, or a Kanan Moody, Ethan Hooker, whoever it is, out there and try to shut that space down and possibly take them out, but definitely make that tackle and make it that ruck a dogfight. Should that disconnection between Andre Esterhazen or Damien Diolande or whoever is inside Jesse Creel in that 12 channel, it might be a forward, it could be Sia Khaleesi or a Cameron Hanekom who usually chases across, should that disconnect be large enough, that's where the All Blacks players need to be coursing through those red lines. That's where they will move. So if we go to the next picture, that's a little bit more, that paints a better picture of how much space is going to be in and around that space. And unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but that cannot be helped. That space will be there for the taking for the All Blacks. And it's just whether your skill set, whether your running lines and your support lines are good enough. So that is honestly where the Springboks need to, where they need to make sure that they stay tight and they communicate well, but also every defensive shape has a weakness. And this is the weakness of the rush defense. And I wouldn't be surprised that in the future, sides against rush defenses begin to play reverse backlines. So they get it out as quickly as they can with a crossfield kick or a giant cutout pass that travels very quickly to the winger and then set up a reverse staircase backline to be able to attack spaces like this. Because all of a sudden, the defense is moving one way and the attack is coming back another. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to happen. I will do a big video and expand on that another time. But nonetheless, that is what I think is going on here. And the All Blacks, who flood the contact zone, that's what they've been doing all season under Dave Rennie, and it's been a big part of their counter-attacking, and particularly their turnover ball. Flooding space with these red arrows, that is going to be vital. Should Jesse Creel be late, that far right-hand player in the backfield for the Springboks, who is going to be the fullback, so either a Damon Willemse or a Apalili Fassi, he's going to have to come up because that's just the way the pendulums work. And the far left winger, so the blindside winger, he will come across into the fullback slot. As you can see, and I know this is a dramatized or an exaggerated diagram, but that is a lot of space to cover when you've got 4 or 5 All Blacks players coursing through that region. So if the All Blacks backs can be able to beat the fold, even in general play, they will find line breaks. They will find weak shoulders, and they are good enough to be able to take advantage of that. They might not finish as in scoring a try because they haven't been too good at that. Because unfortunately for the All Blacks, they've actually missed a lot of opportunities throughout the Greatest Rivalry Tour so far. But that's exactly what it's going to look like. Now I want to show you what these lapses in the Springboks defense look like against Argentina. So here we see where the ruck is being set by Argentina. It's about 45 meters, 46 meters from the Springboks line. The Argentinians are back on halfway. So once this ball gets passed, look, they're going all the way back behind the gain line. They're about 10 meters behind the gain line right now. It was at 45 on the Springbok side. They now got the ball at about 45 on the Argentinian side of the halfway. Then, all of a sudden, the Argentinian player decides to step back inside. That's because they've got a prop defending next to what looks like a number 8. That step really exposes that dog leg. It exposes the lack of connection. It exposes the lack of communication. And they're going to have to really adjust here. And I think it's Andre Esterhazen who fills this gap. But that is about a 2-meter gap. And the outside man there absolutely left for dead. Brilliant run by the Argentinian. Brilliant run by the Argentinian. No questions asked there. Then what we're looking at next is another example when the Springboks actually fail on that umbrella to be able to catch that Argentinian ball movement, and the Argentinians make it into the 5-meter channel with 2 players, not only 1, but 2. So now we see exactly as this other diagram here, which I'll show you. This is the exact same picture. We've got a center moving across. We've got a forward moving across on the inside channel, but we've got Edwill van der Merwe and Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu, who's the 10, but who has been filling in the backfield at number 15 coming up. These 2 pictures are like pretty much exact same, so that's why I'm flicking between them here. So what happens here is that, okay, so they're not going to go anywhere. It's a 2-on-2. Edwill van der Merwe has got the man with the ball, and then Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu is going to be able to tackle the guy, the number 11, the other guy on the paint there. So that I just wanted to show you what that diagram does happen. That's exactly how the Springboks backline and the Springboks defense recovers and scrambles to be able to take care of a defense. Now I'll show you another example of what happens when you get outside the umbrella defense of the Springboks rush D. I think it's Mendy here on the wing, and number 11 gets the ball out wide, almost in this 15-meter channel. He gets the ball. As you can see, Edwill van der Merwe is inside of him. He's caught. He could go straight down the line, but I think that he thinks that Edwill van der Merwe, who's lightning quick, is too quick, and so he's not going to be able to make that run. Then here comes what happens next. He runs back inside, and again, the gap between the prop coming across, I think that's Lou Diaga actually on the inside, or Riaan Louw, and then number 4, it might be Riaan Louw, or it might be Lou Diaga. I'm not sure. 4 and 5 there, and then there's a prop there. That's another 2-meter gap in that dog leg, because the 7 and 8, so I think that's Cameron Hanekom, and number 7, not sure who that is. They are so, maybe it's Paul de Villiers. They are too quick to get across along with Edwill van der Merwe. And the number 4 was tracking really, really well. And the winger for the Argentinians has been able to cut inside and to be able to find this space again. Now, going back to this diagram here, the lines being run that you bet on by the All Blacks have to be better than the lines being run or not being run by the Argentinians in this picture. Because no one in the Argentinian line is running a direct north-south line into this gap. Had that been a outside center, had that been a fullback, had that been a winger, I think that they would have cleared that gap, no questions asked. But because the winger for Argentina, I think it is Mendy, is having to do it all himself, he's having to run on an arc and around into that hole, and he doesn't actually quite make the break that he was intending. But that's why this diagram that I've already drawn up, that the lines for the All Blacks is going to be so important, and they have to hold their feet and set and accelerate into it, whether they receive a pass in this channel, whether they receive an offload, whether they receive a kick, whether it is just someone running back and they need someone to pop off their shoulder. That is exactly what needs to be done by the All Blacks when they do beat the fold, or when they do beat the umbrella defense, and they don't want to go to that fool's gold space. If you go to the fool's gold space, you only really have 2 options. You have one, you have kick it, so then you're losing possession, but you might be able to gain territory, depending on where you are on the field, depending how far back the fullback is. Or 2, you run it, and you risk the chance of getting a turnover or a very slow ball off the edge, where the South Africans can set a good D-line and get up again. This sort of play, the ability to cut back inside, completely muddles the roles and the spacing of the Springboks. All of a sudden, they have 4 players instead of only 2 on the short side of where this ruck is going to be set. And I promise you that will open up space elsewhere, because the backfield would also have to adjust and readjust. So that is the way that the Springboks umbrella rush defense could be exposed by the All Blacks, and it is something that I think that they will look to do on the weekend. Now, I do want to talk about the All Blacks backfield play. As we can see here, again, like and subscribe if you like the content, and if you feel like you're learning something, let me know. And if you like this content, I will be doing more. Just give me a little thumbs up and let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for staying on the channel for so far, so good. Here, the backfield kicking for the All Blacks, or the backfield receiving rather. Jameson Gibson Park has just put up a box kick here for the New Zealanders. And it's Josh Morby chasing back with Damian McKenzie back on that 20, just on the edge of that 22-meter zone for the All Blacks. You can see the Irish line. It's coming up quite high, quite well connected, and you've got Balakoon in the bottom there chasing the ball. Now, what happens next is that what's really important is that it's actually the retreating player for the All Blacks that's going to be catching the ball. This is to stop the escort penalty being awarded, as they are actually acting as the catcher. So they can't be accused of being the escort because they are the catcher. Really good innovation. I love the way that rugby does this, to be able to try to find ways to be able to play within the rules, to be able to find loopholes. It's so cool. I love that. I love that. That's why rugby is such a great game. Great minds are allowed to adapt and to be able to think outside the box and come up with solutions. It's great stuff. But nonetheless, here, Josh Morby is the one retiring closest to Damian McKenzie on the 22. He's going to catch the ball backwards. Balakoon hits him. What happens next is what's really important. Balakoon hits him, but as you can see in this tackle position, he is in a weak position to either pilfer, because he's almost in an offside position. He definitely hasn't let go of Josh Morby in this instance. And he's not in a position to clear Damian McKenzie out to be able to make this breakdown a fight. So what I would be looking to do for the Springboks, and I think they will put up a bunch of box kicks, is put the kick relatively deep, because then you force Morby to either get out of the way, on maybe not Morby, but the retiring winger to get out of the way, because they'll be too far away from the ball to genuinely make it a contest. Or if they do, they will be catching that on the ground, so they won't be able to jump, so no protection for them. And it will cause some indecision in whoever's actually at the back, the fullback in Damian McKenzie in this instance. So when you've closed that gap, when you've put it where you needed to put it, then that goes into the next level, where I think that Springboks are going to put a minimum 2 quick chases whenever they put a Springboks box kick up, because they need to be able to make this breakdown a dogfight. They need to account for the fact that the All Blacks aren't working hard enough going backwards, and that the Springboks work hard when they're going forwards. If you're going to kick a bunch of times, you send your 2 or 3 quick players up, and you make this breakdown a dogfight. Slow the ball down at its source, and when the defensive line has been set, then you can go at them, and hopefully the All Blacks make an error in trying to exit. They make an error here trying to pass the ball, or they make a poor exit, and then you get to attack again with the ball. The Springboks have strike power. They have the ability to strike from anywhere. They have talented, quick enough, powerful enough athletes to be able to do that. They're extremely underrated in this aspect, but they won't be doing it all the time. That's just not the way that they are going to go about their business. So to be able to really dive deep into the All Blacks side of the preparation, we have DSBN's very own Jamie Wall. G'day, Jamie. How are you doing over there in South Africa?
I'm doing great, John. Thanks for having me on again. It's pretty nice day up here in Johannesburg. It's about 24, 25 degrees, so not too hot, and certainly not too cool. So I've been walking around in shorts. So definitely a bit of a change from last week when we got here, where it was absolutely freezing. Thought I was back in Wellington there for a little bit. But yeah, it's all shaping up to be a beautiful day for the Test match on Saturday.
Now, for those people who may have been tuning in and who haven't previously heard from Jamie Wall, you might be wondering why I'm talking to a Western Province man about the All Blacks. But I can assure you that this is just merchandise that he may have picked up before and that he's just wearing on his tour. He may have got it now, but he is very much a New Zealand Kiwi journalist. Jamie, can you just talk to me a little bit about this number that you're wearing? Because it's a bloody good wear.
Yeah, it's a great jersey and perfect for a day like this as well, because it's obviously a cotton, but it's nice and thin as well. So yeah, I was lucky enough to be gifted this by some friends of mine in Cape Town, and I'm just so grateful. We're like everyone else we've met on this trip, they're so been super nice to us and super generous and everything. Yeah, it's a great number. One of the most iconic domestic rugby jerseys in the world. Last time I was lucky enough to be given another one as well, but the one I got given like a couple of years ago was actually a player issue jersey, so it was like really super tight around certain places. So I need to go to the gym and lose a bit of weight to actually fit that one. This one, not so much. So very happy with this.
It's so cool. I just, I think particularly in the Australian landscape, there's been a lot of chat about vintage jerseys, and now that you're getting amongst the culture and the fact that you're on this trip, as a journo anyway, it's just so bloody jealous. But promise now to get into the rugby for everyone tuning in. So, I just want to start off by asking, are the All Blacks as ready as they can be for the test matches to begin?
I think so. I mean, it's not going to matter whether they are or not because it's happening in a few days. And yeah, I think if you can take out of those 3 games, the 3 warm-up games that they've had, they had a decent test against the Stormers in the first match. The Stormers really showed up for that game, and good on them. But the All Blacks still did win that game reasonably comfortably. They scored 6 tries to 3 in that one. The Sharks game felt like more of a training session, to be honest. But that was that game no matter what. And I think that the handling in what some really challenging conditions was excellent. And then the game on the weekend against the Bulls, well, talking to some of the people over here, they actually really believed the Bulls could win that game. Even though they were missing all their Springboks. They thought that the All Blacks were ripe for the picking on that one in front of a decent crowd at Loftus. The All Blacks, again, won that game very convincingly. And, had the result wrapped up after about half an hour. So I think in terms of, the challenges put in front of them, yes, they've passed all of them. Obviously, there's been the injuries that we've heard about. I think up to about 4 guys have been ruled out. But that was always going to happen. It was always going to happen. The attrition rate on this tour was going to be really high. And it hasn't. Caleb Clark's probably the most significant one out of that. I think he probably would have been in the 23 for the weekend. But in saying that, the guys who are lining up to replace him are in really good form, because it sort of comes down to probably 3 guys because I think Clark probably would have gone into that test wearing the 23 jersey. And if you look at the guys who are there to replace him, I mean, you got Josh Morby, Leroy Carter, and potentially Rieko Ioane as well, who are all playing really well. They all scored tries on Saturday. Rieko in particular is enjoying like quite a bit of a redemption arc at the moment. So yeah, I think while it'd be preferable to have Caleb Clark there, they're not losing a hell of a lot by bringing in the guys who are waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's preparation and then there's preparation, and I think playing games is probably a good way to prepare the way that you want to play your games. But then obviously, as you mentioned, the attrition rate, and Caleb Clark is a huge out, and it's a real shame because I think his aerial threat hadn't truly been used by the All Blacks to its fullest potential. And trust me, we're in Australia here; we are very used to underutilizing our aerial threat. So it's something that we do very well, and we know what it looks like when it's being done. But yeah, real shame for Caleb Clark, the man, to get another injury, because he just seems to be quite injury prone. It's such a shame because he is such a great player. But I think on specific players, where are the biggest vulnerabilities for the All Blacks from a perspective of a match day 23?
Vulnerabilities, I mean, I think it's probably the high ball, just simply because in Super Rugby Pacific and in domestic rugby and secondary school rugby and where these guys are coming from, they simply haven't had as many reps as, say, their South African opposites. They have, so pardon. I'm still getting over a bit of jet lag like a week and a half later, plus the altitude here is absolutely kicking my ass. So you'll have to forgive me if I yawn a couple of times. But yeah, I think it's the high ball, because we know the Springboks are going to do that. That's where they're going to launch your attack, especially if they come into position on their own side of halfway and outside of their 20. So yeah, that's the big concern for me. And Clark was one of the best under it. So the guys who are coming in, who are going to be taking those, really need to be on their game. this weekend. So there was a few question marks over the scrum. I think they were kind of answered on Saturday night. Really dominant All Black scrum against the Bulls. For what that's worth, I suppose, considering that was, a midweek All Black side up against now a Springbok pack. So, yeah, scrum's going to be absolutely crucial in this one. I don't feel like the All Blacks are completely vulnerable in this area, but it is something that's going to really need to be its absolute best to get what they want out of this test match.
Is there some concern over the fitness of Tyrell Lomax? And just we saw Fletcher Newell do a great job, and I'd say that he's the second man after Tossie didn't give a completely convincing performance game one, and then not necessarily his cameos either. But is it a case of that Tyrell Lomax is fully good to go, or will it be Fletcher Newell who starts in that 3 jersey? Do you think?
Relatively confident of Lomax. I mean, he played against the Bulls, got through, I think it was at least 40 or 50 minutes in that game. So I haven't had any updates on him being injured since then, so I presume he's fine. Saying that, we had no idea about Caleb Clark until it got announced on Friday night. So there's, I mean, if something happens between now and the time you're going to publish this, I apologize. But as far as we know, he's fit and ready to play.
Yeah, and just a reminder to everyone out there, then I will mention this in the preamble, that this is being recorded on Tuesday night Sydney time, and it will come out Wednesday night Sydney time. So that's before the teams are announced. That'll give you some time to be able to mull these things over, because at the end of the day, the team doesn't really matter. There'll be some hype selections in there, like if they throw some curveballs, like place Richard Mwonga in the 10 jersey, etc., etc. But the point being is that the teams are the teams, the All Blacks versus Springboks, and that's why this chat is still so timely and will be even once the teams are announced, because it's the squad mentality, and I think that's what matters on the day. Are the All Blacks prepared to deal with South Africa in the way that they are most likely going to play, which is, you've already touched on the high ball, but I think there's been a fair bit asked about Jaco Piper, who's an old referee who is in the Springboks camp, and of course Rassie Erasmus, about time wasting. Like, how important is it just going to have to be about the All Blacks to really keep the ball in play if they do want to be able to play this kind of high ruck, high percentage, high pass kind of game?
I'm finding this whole time wasting thing a bit of a red herring, to be honest, because I don't think it's a particularly useful metric in terms of what has actually happened in a game. It's good for governing bodies and broadcasters to sort of fling out and just be like, look, this is how much rugby's getting played. But if you actually go look at the statistics, the ball was in play for, I think, longer in the Springboks versus Argentina game than it was in the All Blacks versus, I don't know which game it was, Sharks game, or whichever one it was. And like, which one was a better one to watch? Like, just because the ball's in play doesn't mean it's good ball in play. It could just be guys hitting rucks and the ball getting hoofed up in the air. So I think it's just one of those things that's been not blown out of proportion, but it's been used as a conduit to get this whole, like, our style of rugby is better than your style of rugby, and we want the rules interpreted in a way that's going to benefit us rather than you, which is what the two coaches are doing so far this week. Like, that we had the two press conferences yesterday. I was only able to get to Dave Rennie, but he, reading between the lines, he was very, obviously just saying, like, well, we want you to clamp down on people taking too long to go to the line out and things like that. Whereas Rassie Erasmus was saying, like, well, if you look at our line out, we're not actually taking any longer than anyone else. And so it seems a bit petty, but at the same time, they're hyping up what's a really highly anticipated test match. So yeah, it's more one of those ones where it's like, well, why don't we look at what's happening with the ball in play rather than just saying, well, more minutes with the ball in play is therefore good.
And I guess that kind of leads me to the start, to the first part of, I guess, now looking back at the two-part question. how important is it for the All Blacks if they do want to play high possession to be able to keep the ball in? You can't meander to a line out if the line out's never set. Like you can't wait to pick grass out of your boots for a scrum if you don't need to be able to if you play your advantage through. So do you foresee that to be the All Black style, that just because they're kicking doesn't mean that they're kicking out? Like it's got nothing to do with that they have a poor line out. It's more about that you can't time waste and you can't have a rest if you're not putting the ball out. So will the All Blacks just play until Springboks put it out?
I mean, probably. I think just the modern kicking game, that's what everyone's trying to do anyway. You know, you just get into those kicking duels, and what you're hoping to achieve out of that is that you're going to get a line-out feed in their half. You're trying to manufacture what you would get off a penalty by the back and forth kicking, which is to in the right spot, get your chase right, and force them to kick it out closer to their line than when you started the whole thing in the first place. So, I mean, yeah, I think the All Blacks would have been going for a lot more 50-22s than we've seen lately. Like, that's how they're going to be looking to kick. You know, like that constitutes an attacking kick. Ruben Love's been pretty proficient at those throughout Super Rugby and in the Test season as well. So kicking-wise, I think they've got the balance quite right. The most they've kicked in a game this year was against the Sharks, and that was up around sort of 30, but that was in, you know, a bloody downpour that had been going on for like 3 days. Yeah. So it's no surprise. And then against the Bulls, it went back to the low 20s after an average in the July series of sort of around late teens, early 20s. So I think that's about the amount of kicks that the All Blacks are going to do in a game, because it's worked so far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it all remains to be seen because it all has to be put out on the pitch. But now that we're recording this before the teams are out, Jamie, you've been very generous with your time over there. I know that you have lots of commitments and you're running around being a journo as well, not to mention you're fighting gravity and thinner air there. So hang in there, keep going. But could you just give us prediction for what you expect from this weekend?
Oh, I think it's going to be a great game. I think that it's going to be tight. I think it could come down to like one kick. And we saw Geordie out there at training today, lining a few up from his own side of halfway. That might be the difference between this one. The All Blacks go in on a bit of a high because they've been in South Africa for a better part of a month now. And the only time the Springboks have played has been over in Argentina. They've been able to control the narrative quite well. All the attention's been on the All Blacks. You know, they've been laying down quite a bit of a challenge. And because of the Springboks game, yeah, they won, but it wasn't particularly convincing. There have been a few jitters around the world champions. Like, don't get me wrong, they still go in as favourites and they're still going to put out an exceptional team. But it feels like the belief from the All Blacks themselves and the people following them is building every day, because it feels like this game plan plus the togetherness of the group and being out on tour and facing this challenge that the All Blacks haven't had to do for like 30 years has really made them stronger.
Oh, it's very, very exciting. I'll say the same on when I interview Harry Jones, but I'm predicting a 10-point win by the All Blacks. I see that this is going to be a strong performance by the All Blacks. They're battled hard and they're ready to play. They've been on ground for long enough. If I'm perfectly honest, I don't think the Springboks have played the Springboks side that will go out has played enough rugby of late, to be honest. So that's my take. But I might eat my words, but we're here to give our opinions, and that's mine. But Jamie, you've given me plenty of your time, and I really, really appreciate it. All the best for the lead up into the test number 1. Going to be absolutely stellar. Take care of yourself, and don't float away, and don't succumb to the high altitude, mate.
Well, it's been great for my goal kicking and cardio fitness. So yeah, but it is. I can tell you, it's very real, and just it's probably worth taking into account for when the All Blacks actually take the field. Because if you remember 2 years ago, they were going great until the last 20 minutes at Ellis Park, and then felt like the tyres went flat. So yeah, it's maybe just keep that in mind when you're watching the game this Saturday.
You heard it there first from Jamie. Jamie, take it easy. And to all of you guys, thanks so much. We'll stay tuned. See you later, Jamie.
Cheers, mate.
Rugby's greatest rivalry would not be a rivalry without the rivals, and that goes without saying. But we've talked to Jamie Wall. Now it's time to speak to Riaan Louw. He's a proud man. He's a proud Lions supporter, from what I've read, and he's in the Republic and ready to give us a lowdown on the Springboks. Riaan, this is your off the Ruck debut, and to be honest, I don't know if you're nervous or not, but to be honest, I am just really, really humbled and thankful that you've come on.
Oh, no, there's no reason to be humble. I've loved your work. The work you've been doing is good. It's a nice way to keep up with what's happening in Australian rugby. We see a lot less of you guys these days. So, no, it's always a pleasure to chat about rugby. What else is there to talk about?
No, my thoughts exactly. And it is really awesome to be able to get Riaan on, just because he's someone that I've been keeping close tabs on in the X/Twitter sphere. And there's always a bit of jest, but a good bit of insight as well. Hence why I wanted to get Riaan on. And so, Riaan, I think we'll just fire away. And so, are the Springboks as ready as they can be for these test matches to begin there in Johannesburg at Ellis Park on Saturday evening?
Honestly, I think probably the answer there is no. I am quite nervous. I remember clearly what happened with the Wallabies last year at Ellis Park. We came in there it felt like undercooked after the Aussies were through a very strong Lions tour. So I have my misgivings. The team that played in Argentina is not the team we'll be seeing today. We might actually get it announced while we're talking. So I am a little nervous about them being ready for this game, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's been a lot of the conversation as well. You do get a little bit of a benefit when you are playing so many games to back to back to back. And Rassie Erasmus has even held some players back. We know the likes of Sia Khaleesi and Eben Etzebeth were absent during July, but then, of course, they got some minutes now against Argentina, but not scot-free. A little bit of an injury niggle there to Sia Khaleesi. Khaleesi, the captain, are we expecting to see him named in the side if fit?
I don't think so. I think they are not going to put him on. He might be ready for the second test just to keep that hammy safe. We probably see the guy who's looking like his heir apparent, Paul de Villiers, who's been tearing it up, a young guy. He might be the guy starting on Saturday, and then you'd have someone like, I don't know if Kwagga Smith is fit, but someone else coming off the bench. So I don't expect to see him, which is a shame, especially at Ellis Park, but he should be there for test number 2.
I'd be reticent to call anyone small. And before we move on to the second question, I just do have to pay homage and tribute to Paul de Villiers. I haven't seen someone quite like that, perhaps since Kwagga came on the scene, or perhaps even as far back as Heinrich Brousseau is the same kind of nuggety wombat type of player that I would associate with someone like him. But what a revelation. Just a few short tests, a few appearances, and he's looking like the business. So it's really cool to see that you guys, no matter where you pick them from, you keep churning out these crazy mechanoids of rugby players. It's awesome. It's going to be terrifying to play against him, but it's going to be awesome. So we'll see how he goes. I guess what I'd ask you there is, where are the biggest vulnerabilities from a roster perspective for the Springboks? I've got a bit of an opinion on this, but of course I'd want to reach out to you first and ask what you're kind of seeing there in that space.
It's definitely at hooker. We've now obviously got Marks, World Player of the Year. You can bank on him. He's been playing a lot of 80-minute matches, but there hasn't been the guy coming up behind him. Bongi Mbonambi, he was always the guy, but I don't know if age has caught up, but he's had a long injury issue. So he's not been in the Bok team. And then behind that, we've had Johan Grobler and Andre Igufente, and we've had guys switching roles like Mark van Staden. Just where is that next big hooker? We had such a period of Malcolm Marx, Bismarck du Plessis, John Smith, all these legends of the game backing each other up. And So there is the big fear if he goes down. And then I think maybe at the outside center channel, you've got Jesse Creel. We had Lucanio for many years. But now you've got, Kanan Moody, who's had a bit of a form dip in the last few months. I still trust him, but if the ball's going high, but he has had some issues in the last few games. So those are the two major ones for me. And then we've got a few injuries at lock, and the All Black locks are looking very good with Holland and those guys. So Archie Snyman being injured, Lloyd Jager is always, when is his next injury? That's the fear there for us.
Yeah, the land that seems to be able to find big men, men over 2 meters tall, like they grow on trees. It feels a little bit weird to hear you guys talking about a lock shortage, but I'm glad that you talked about Marks and also Jesse Creel and the outside center stocks along with Moody, etc., because those are actually two of the three players that I really highlighted as well, that I've written an article for RugbyPass, which will be coming out in the morning Australian time. So maybe in 10 hours or so. So I'll make sure I put that in the description when it comes out. But the third player was Cobus Reinach. I know that Grant Williams and perhaps Cobus Reinach are seen as two sides of the one coin, but there is just an element of perhaps measured control, tempo dictation, and also just accurate skill set when it comes to Cobus that I think that synergizes so well with the Springboks apparent game plan that I think that they will play. It's not to diminish the skills of Grant Williams. We know that he's lightning with ball in hand, but there's just something about the control that Cobus Reinach particularly was able to exude and show in Argentina most recently. Even when there were people counting 5 seconds down, he just never looked rushed or flustered. He really knows how to control things from the base for the Boks.
Yeah, he's been so good for us. It was a bit of a horror show in Argentina with that wind blowing the ball all over the place, but you can always trust him to come back stronger. We do have, I don't know how much you've seen of Morne van der Berg, the young Faf light, people call him, but he is more of a Reinach light, a controlling ball kicking nine. Very, very good defensively. He's one of the best defenders in the URC at 9. Maybe not as sniping as Cobus Reinach or Grant Williams. So for me, I'm not too scared there. We do have the depth there, but Reinach's, just like he's got a bit of dog in him. He likes to get in the faces of the other team, try and rile some people up. That we would definitely miss. And just the experience. It doesn't matter what 10 is outside him. He's going to be able to guide that guy. Pollard obviously has tons of experience, but if you have Lebok or SFM who have a few less tests under the belt, you'd want Reinach there. So, and also to chase Cam Roygaard because he's so bloody fast. You'd want Reinach to be able to match that guy as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. Are the Springboks prepared to deal with the type of tempo and, high ruck setting numbers and high passing game of the All Blacks? There's been a huge discussion about the dichotomy of styles that may or may not be on show on the weekend, but assuming that is the dichotomy that is at play, that the Springboks, despite being able to strike at will with the weapons that they have in a Damian Willems, in a Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu, should he get on, in a Grant Williams, with the loose forwards, nonetheless, it feels like they will try to go set piece to set piece because they do feel, particularly at scrum, like they have a major upper hand there. Do you feel like the Springboks aren't prepared to be able to deal with should the All Blacks keep balls in play for a very long time for phases at a time?
Well, you can see from the team that the All Blacks have selected with no lock on the bench, with Signer and Lokai sitting on the bench, they are probably thinking about late game speed, quick line out throws, no waiting around. And it's something they definitely did against the URC sides, against the Stormers. There was definitely at the start of that match, keep the ball alive, keep it going, do not let the game stop. The thing you have to do is every time you set a ruck, you need to clean it. And if you are setting rucks, hundreds of these a game, and we've got Paul de Villiers and those guys just waiting to get over the ball. That's always the beauty of rugby. It's the risk versus reward. If you're setting 100 rucks, you've got to be able to protect the ball at 100 rucks, and that's what the Springboks definitely will be trying to do, to slow that ball down, barge over it, make it ugly, get it slowed down, which is something we did successfully against the All Blacks last year, So I think that's probably going to be the main thing for the Boks this weekend. Do not get them to get on a roll, get into 5-6 rucks, pick one, barge it, mess it up. And then also there's the other side of the ball. It's not like the All Blacks will just be running the ball all day. We'll get the ball as well, and then they'll have to stop us. So there is always the two sides of the game. Will they be able to stop the high ball? We ran them. I remember clearly Damian Willemse running around to Mighty Williams last year for that final try. We're not slouches ourselves.
No, absolutely not. I think with Edville van der Merwe, with Kurtley Arendse, with the Cheslin Colby, Kenan Moody, there's an Ethan Hooker. There's just no lack of speed, lack of X factor in that back line, along with the Damian Dialande and of course Jesse Creel. Feinberg-Mngomezulu is of course an absolutely exhilarating talent himself. I guess the final question, what I would just ask is that, is there an element of confidence that the Springboks have in themselves that should they get to the 22, they will walk away with points? Because there has been some analysis around just with how many points the All Blacks leak in the 22, how many are they able to secure, vice versa. The Springboks are relatively clinical, whether it is off the tee or whether it is scoring a 5-pointer, which is then converted into 7, that once they do get into the 22, they are extremely dangerous, and as would be expected as the world's best number one team.
Yeah, that's obviously you need to get those entries, and we've seen the All Blacks giving up quite a few penalties, and that's not something you want to do with the Springboks. If you are just going to leak something and we get to kick the ball into your 22 and put up a line out with the new maul interpretations or just cleaning that up, there is a opportunity there for the Springboks. So I know it's not always popular, but we will scrum for penalties. We will go for those high balls. If there's a knock on that offers the opportunity of another scrum to get into your 22 and do a line out. That I think would be a very, very clear point of attack. Get the All Blacks to be bad, the discipline be poor, and then we can easily get into that 22. And I think we have the power in Jasper Wiese and stuff to get over that advantage line and then just get it to those outside backs that are so quick. I think almost we might have a thing of either SFM, Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu or Mani Lebok, doing a few crossfield kicks to guys like Hooker and that would be a great way for us to score points.
Yeah, the crossfield kick, it's such an underutilized skill. Is particularly, us Australians know absolutely. We have had talents like Israel Folau, but we have talented players like Joseph Kuso-Suoli in the side, Mark Nwangeni-Tuasi to come back, Zach Lomax on the fringes, and we still haven't been able to quite figure out the fact that is still a tactic. So I would love to see South Africa deploy that, because I do think that it could rattle some cages against New Zealand. Riaan, I guess without knowing a Springbok side, it's kind of hard to say. But just to finish off, how are you feeling? Are you feeling confident that the Springboks can nab one at 1,753 meters altitude at Ellis Park, or will it be the All Blacks who walk away victors in game number 1 there?
It's a tough one. I'm very nervous. The last time we played them there, it was a tight game. What happened against the Wallabies last year, I think that's almost see, this is what happens when you go into a game overconfident at Ellis Park. So hopefully that's been put on the wall, that scoreline from last year. And just keep our discipline, keep the set pieces clean, and get into their 22, and we should be able to take it. I think we've got the fitness, we've got the power, and we do have the speed, the ability to play for long periods of time. I think it won't be a walkover. It won't be another Wellington, but I'm confident we can do it.
Oh, I'm sure there'd be no Kiwis brave enough in the comments to be able to bring up a Wellington type of score, because that was an absolute trouncing, and the scrum was picked up and lifted backwards from the All Blacks there. But nonetheless, it's going to be an absolutely exhilarating contest. I have no skin in the game, and yes, they are Anzac brothers across the pond there, across the ditch. But and you are our cousins from across the Indian Ocean there. But I do feel like game one there is some precarious nature about an undercooked Springboks side. So I think that All Blacks may nab number one, but that does not mean that the series is dead and buried. So I'm just giving my 2 cents. I want to hear what you guys all think in the comments below. But apologies to everyone who thought we were about to go. We've actually just had the team drop, so I had to find out what Riaan had to say about it. So
breaking
I'll whip
news
it up on screen there. Wow. Yeah. Take me through it. What are your first thoughts there, Riaan?
Yeah, it's a strong team. I'm glad my prediction that Sia's not playing came true. Paul de Villiers at 6, big match for him. And like we said, Grant, you and I were chatting, Grant Williams, he's starting instead of Kobus Reinach. I definitely think that's you are here to catch Cam Roygaard if he breaks. You're the only guy who can. And then, the two guys that we cannot lose, Malcolm Marx and Jesse Creel, they are on the field at the start of the match. Then the bench, as always, very, very interesting. Jan Hendrik Wessels will be our prop/hooker. Kobus Visa joins his brother. That'll be his first test, I think, against the All Blacks. He looked very good in his last couple of games. And then Andre Esterhuizen, named as a forward, which is very modern rugby. So we're either a 6-2 or a 5-3. Who knows? It'll probably change 3 times throughout the match.
Yeah, exactly. And leave it to Rassie Erasmus to throw a curveball. He could have just put Andre Esterhuizen in the 22 jersey, but no, he's chosen to put him in the 20 jersey. I guess what I kind of see from this is there's no trust for Grobelard yet at hooker, as we spoke about, and you mentioned Malcolm Marx and Jesse Creel, very much needed in that back line. Damien Velm said trusty and sturdy as always a fullback. Sacha Feinberg-Mngomezulu, I have my take that much like Tyrell Lomax, who's coming back from a long injury layoff, although now he's played a few games, nonetheless, I think it takes some time to be able to really find your true test match level form. Is that a concern at all? Did you see anything in Argentina that would say that, he's not quite back to where his electrical high standard used to be there for Sacha Feinberg-Mngomezulu?
Definitely. I think he's been forcing the game a bit, not trusting the guys around him. I don't know if that's just a hangover from the Stormers where almost everyone in that team kind of forces the game sometimes. I would like to see him, if he's carrying the ball from the back, you don't need to do 3 dummies, 2 steps and just get caught and isolated. Trust your team around you, put it up in the air or run towards your forward so they can clean out the ruck. So, for him, I would like to see him keep building his form, getting back to where he was before. He has beaten the All Blacks a couple times already. So I trust him. He knows this type of game. Calm down, keep it cool, and everything will be okay.
I think it's interesting that they've chosen Manie Libbok on the bench purely for the sake that it feels like a break the glass handbrake emergency should Sacha not be able to cut it, or should he just need to nurse perhaps a little bit of a tweaks at some point throughout the game, just because I know that Willemser is so capable to play at 10, of course, and of course you could have someone like a Kurtley Arendse or a Cheslin Colby drop to fullback. Cheslin's done it for Toulouse, and he's done it for other sides as well, and of course Kurtley Arendse, I no doubt has that skill set in him. So I am quite surprised to see Libbok used for that backline. Not that I think that you need too many more players in the roster with Andre Esterhuizen there, but nonetheless, it does surprise me a little bit. Do you have any kind of thoughts about that?
How the tables have turned, eh? It used to be that you break the glass because Mani's doing something weird. Now he's the guy you trust to come on the field and clean everything up. So, it's great to see him there. I think he was the guy who came on last year when Reinhardt got hurt, when Sacha Feinberg-Mngomezulu got hurt. So very good. I'm happy to have him there.
He's a hell of a player, Manie Libbok. He's going to be exciting. We know that he can kick without looking at the opposition or where the ball's going. He knows where to find his players. Obviously, Pieter-Steph du Toit, the captain. Kind of sad because it would have been awesome to see Siya Kolisi with his emotion and great leadership to be in that position. But nonetheless, there are a few men more capable to be able to lead the Springboks than Pieter-Steph du Toit. I guess my final take would just be Cobus Visa being used as the, as you already noted, the second row replacement. It really does paint that picture that they are down to their fifth, maybe even sixth preferenced lock. Not that Cobus Visa is anywhere necessarily a poor player, quite the contrary, but nonetheless, you're missing guys like Lou Diaga, you're missing players like Hess Nyman. So, I mean, it does paint a picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can see like he would never have been close to the Boks if those guys were fit. Hopefully those guys can come back sooner rather than later. I guess it's a good thing as a rest for the big thing that's happening next year, but this is a pretty big thing itself. So I trust him to do well. Pieter-Steph du Toit is also, he started his life as a lock, so there's always that opportunity for him to move into the lock as well. And I'm pretty sure Mostert is fit, so they've probably just decided, no, in this game, we want to go with speed at the breakdown as well. So we're going to keep Andre and Marco van Staden on the bench instead of adding another lock there.
Riaan, you've been more than gracious with your time here this evening, my time during the day, your time there. So go well, enjoy the contest, and would love to catch up again a little bit later in the tour to be able to reconnect and see how things are plodding along. Thanks again so much for coming on.
Only a pleasure, John. Only a pleasure.
Cheers, guys. Don't forget to check out Riaan stuff on X, and he does do some stuff with Megafoon as well with Harry Jones, who's another friend of the podcast and the channel. So make sure you go check out his stuff as well. To all you guys, you've sat through Jamie Wall's piece, you've sat through my analysis, and I'm just going to sign off after this individually. But for now, I'm just going to say ciao for now there, Riaan. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Just a quick take on the All Black side. So I'll whip it up there. There you can see it. As kind of expected for the most part, but Tyrell Lomax does get the start, and Josh Lord partners Fabian Holland in the second row with no second row replacement on the bench. They've instead gone with Anton Segner and Peter Larkai. They've got a 5-3 split bench, nonetheless, no 6-2 as some people were perhaps calling for, perhaps they thought that they needed, but no 6-2. And that means that Tupou Vai will likely go back into the second row should one of the second rows need a break, and they probably will do that. I would be guessing that it would be Lord, just to be able to keep the experience of Vi and Holland on there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. As far as the back line goes, that's a Hurricanes 9, 10, 11, 12. Will Jordan on the wing on there, Quintapire at 13, power, pace, just absolute X factor in those two pairings, and Damian McKenzie at the back. Kyle Preston, Anton Leonard-Brown, and Leroy Carter. I was expecting to see Erika Ioane on the bench. To be honest, I'm not sure. I'm quite convinced with Anton Leonard-Brown, but nonetheless, with the side being announced, my prediction does not change. I do think the All Blacks will win by 10. You guys let me know what you guys think the score will be at the end of Test match number 1. Now that you've watched the interview with Riaan Louw, now that you've watched the interview with Jamie Wall, and you've seen the analysis, I hope that you get a pretty comprehensive look at the way that the All Blacks are going to play their game, and a little bit of way that they could expose the umbrella defense of the Springboks. And I hope you get a little bit of an insight into the way that the backfield of the All Blacks will likely be exposed by the Springboks. If you like the analysis, if you like the interviews, please make sure that you like, subscribe, share it with some friends who you think will enjoy the content as well. Make sure you give me a thumbs up. That helps drives the algorithm. And if you think there's anyone that I should collab with, then please let me know, because I'm always looking out for great rugby minds and good rugby talkers to be able to chat with as well. Thank you so much for enjoying your time here on the channel. I definitely enjoyed providing it for you. So I hope to see you all in the next video. But until then, enjoy the Greatest Rivalry first test at Ellis Park. It's going to be an absolute doozy. I can't wait. Let me know what your score predictions are in the comments below. But until then, ciao for now.